Hi everybody, it's Joe from PrepAgent. I hope everybody's having a good day today. We are ready to go. You guys can hear me, give me a big thumbs up so I know connections are great, and let's get started. Lupe, you're going to do great today. So you got your exam today. I'm sure you'll do awesome. Don't sweat it. And for all of us, we're doing contracts today. If you guys notice, the first one on the board is sale leaseback. If you guys check out our Instagram, I did a IGTV video on sale leasebacks. I did a video about all the leases, the net lease, the gross lease, percentage lease, sale leaseback, option lease. So if you guys don't mind, after the webinar is done, check out that Instagram video. Check out that Instagram video on IGTV. I'll be posting a lot more in the days to come. But what reminded me about that one is this question on the board kind of alludes to my last video I did. All right. So on Instagram, that's prep_agent, and you'll see it there. Adrienne, I'm not sure if you have a link to that. But with that being said, let's get going with the first question. One of the main benefits of a sale leaseback transaction would be A, the ability to maintain the book value of the new buyer, B, the ability of the seller to deduct all those future rent payments as a business expenditure, C, you can get the deposit back with no objection, D, you have the option to lease the property back after the termination of the lease. That question once again, one of the main benefits of the sales leaseback transaction would be. And the answer is B, the ability of the seller to deduct all of his future rent payments as a business expenditure. So who here could tell me what is a sale leaseback? What is a sale leaseback? Anybody know? Who knows what is a sale leaseback? What is a sale leaseback? So the technical way to explain this is a sale leaseback is when the vendor becomes the lessee. Nice job, Lisa Reyes. It's when the vendor becomes the lessee. So basically, you're selling the property, and the property you sold, you become a tenant of the new owner. Does everybody get that? So you stay there. You just become a tenant of the new owner. One of the main benefits to do this is to get more cash for your business. So if you're running a business and you own the property and you think that cash that you could get out of the property will be better used to grow your business than it would to build equity in the property, then what you do is sell it, become a tenant of the new owner, and use all that cash you now have to invest in your business to grow your business. The other benefit is you could deduct all those rents that you're paying as a business expense, and that alludes to the question on the board. First question down, sale leaseback. Before I move on, we are doing contracts today. Can you guys tell me the 4 essentials of a valid contract? What are the 4 essentials of a valid contract? Who knows? What do you guys think? What are the 4 essentials of a valid contract? Okay, the 4 essentials are lawful object, capable parties, consideration, and agreement. An agreement can be phrased as meeting of the minds, mutual consent, any of those things, 2 people shaking hands, whatever it may be. Sometimes people get confused on that because there's multiple ways to say agreement. Like I said, you can say mutual consent, meeting of the minds, agreement, however you want to say it. High five, whatever you want. When is agreement officially an agreement? What do you guys think? When is agreement officially an agreement? What do you guys think? When does that happen? When do you say, done, we have an agreement? What do you guys think? Nice job, just graceful. She nailed it. All right. What that basically means is you have a 3-step process: offer, acceptance, and communicate back the acceptance to the buyer. Does everybody get that? So basically, if I make an offer on your property and you accept it, and I never hear from you, I don't know that you accepted it, so I may go make offers on other properties. Has everybody got that? So you got to communicate back that acceptance to the buyer. Everybody got it? Right? Got it. Right, I got it. One of the other things you guys mentioned is consideration. Does consideration have to be money? What do you guys think? Does consideration have to be money? Yes or no? No, it does not have to be money. It could be a high five, a hug, or a cookie. It could be whatever you want it to be. You guys love that example of love and affection. Whenever I bring that up, people always write love and affection. Is that because it's in every textbook across the country, love and affection? Or do you guys just like hugs? Maybe all of you like hugs. I like hugs. Who doesn't like hugs, right? Okay, when a counteroffer is made, A, it is considered a partial acceptance of the original offer. Right back at you, Lisa. B, the original offer cannot amend his terms. C, the original offer becomes a unilateral offer. D, the offeree becomes the offeror. What do you guys think? The question is, when a counter offer is made. And the answer is the offeree becomes the offeror. Does everybody understand that a counteroffer is not a modification of the original offer? Even though practically speaking, that really is what it is, but legally speaking, it is a brand new offer. Everybody got that? It's a brand new offer. What's happening is you're saying, I will give you $500,000 for your house, and you're saying, no, I will give you my house for your $550,000. Does everybody see how that worked? The offeree became the offeror. Do we all know the difference between the EE and the OR? Do we all know the difference between the EE and the OR? The OR-EE rule. If not, we're going to remember it like this. Lessor, vendor, giver, optionor is the... Oh, did I say that wrong? Lessor, vendor, optionor, trustor, giver, the proprietor for your pleasure. Lessee, vendee, grantee, optionee, gives me property, makes me happy. I know it sounds ridiculous, but when you're struggling for your exam and you're sitting here going through the questions and you go in your head like, oh, or vendee, give me, grantee's the answer, boom. You're like, woo, so glad I was in that webinar. You'll be psyched. It sounds ridiculous, but when it's in your head like Obi-Wan Kenobi right in Luke Skywalker's ear and you're passing the exam, you'll be happy you remember that stupid little ditty. But after you pass, it's going to have a hard time getting out of your head. You're going to be like, get out of my head. Okay, so offeree becomes the offeror. In a listing, which clause will allow a broker to collect a commission for a specified period of time after the term of the listing has expired? A, delay pay clause. B, acceleration clause. C, protection period clause. Or D, release clause. Once again, that question is, in a listing, which clause will allow a broker to collect a commission for a specified period of time after the term of the listing expires? And the answer is C, protection period clause. Protection period clause. Okay, so what is a listing? Let's start there. What is a listing? We don't want to say it's that thing where you sign and you get to sell somebody's house for them and make money. That's not what we want to say, even though most agents will say that and we hate them for doing that. What is a listing? Okay, at its core, a listing is an employment contract. Excellent job, guys. It's an employment contract whereby a licensee is employed to find a buyer. They are not employed to sell the house. Why are you not employed to sell the house? Why can't you sell the house? Why are you just finding a buyer? Why can't you sell the house? What do you guys think? The answer is pretty obvious. The answer is because, well, it's not your house, right, guys? It's not yours house, okay? So all you could do is bring a buyer to the owner and they decide if they want to sell the house. The difference to note is important because a lot of people, when they practice real estate, kind of mix up the jargon on that, and therefore they're not legally correct. So you're hired to find a buyer for the house. Right, guys? Usually there's a time limit to find a buyer. My next question is, what type of listing does a time limit not needed to be stated? What type of listing is it not necessary to have a termination date on the listing? This is a tricky one. Let's see who's been studying. What type of listing does not need a termination date? What do you guys think? And the answer is open listing. Open listing. Great. And the reason is because an exclusive listing, you can only hire one licensee. Okay? With an open listing, you can hire as many as you want. And therefore, with that one licensee, there needs to be a termination date, because if they don't do a good job and they don't find a buyer as promised, or if they're not using their due diligence in looking for a buyer, then that contract's got to end at some point so you could work with somebody else. It can't just be there forever. Whereas with an open listing, if the licensee is not doing their due diligence and looking for a buyer, no problem. You could go with anybody else at any time. Therefore, a termination date is not needed. Everybody got that? Everybody write got it before I get to the next point. I want to see everybody writing got it, Joe. So when you have that exclusive listing, okay, then you have a termination date. All right. So let's say that termination date is 90 days. And I believe somebody asked it's 60 to 120. That time frame is completely negotiable between the two parties involved. All right. It's completely negotiable. But let's say, for example, it's 90 days, okay? On day 89, you find the buyer. I got the buyer and you get paid. You're like, woo, that was a close one. But the buyer says, I can't make it today. I'm visiting my daughter in college. I'll be there next week. And you're like, no, but in 2 days, my listing's going to expire. So what you do before that day comes is you take out a piece of paper, you write the name of the buyer, you hand it to the seller, and you say, if this person closes the deal in the next 2 weeks or whatever time frame we agree upon, I will get credit. That is not a time frame to look for a new buyer. That is a time frame to close a deal with buyers you've been working with during the term of the listing. Everybody got that? And you put that in writing. You write their name down, like Bill or Sam, whatever their name is. And that time period is known as the protection period clause, also known as the safety clause, which brings us to the question on the board. Okay, everybody got that? All right, I believe Vicky asked, what is a net listing? A net listing is a listing that is illegal in many states and frowned upon in the other states. The reason there is a conflict of interest there, and that's why it's illegal, is because it's a conflict of interest. It said some states it's legal, some states it's not, so we don't all need to write illegal in my state. We got that. Okay, but the reason is because in a net listing, you get paid an amount above and beyond a designated price. Okay, so if you list it for 500 grand, you bring a buyer for 550, you get $50,000. Now the conflict of interest comes in is if that buyer brings in if that licensee brings in a buyer for 500 grand, then you get nothing. And that stinks because you spend a lot of time looking for that person, you get nothing. But it would be in the seller's best interest, and therein lies the conflict of interest. And that's why many states just ban it altogether, and the states who do not ban it severely frown upon it in a big way. Okay, so where we go. So Leo says net listings don't have a termination date. So Leo, net listings are more a manner of getting paid. It's as opposed to exclusive and open, is more dealing with how many people you're contracted to work with. So they're a little bit of potato. So you can have an exclusive listing that's also a net listing, if that makes sense. Okay, so Alaska Robert says, just letting you guys know, the net listing is actually on the state exam. What state is legal or can ask what state is illegal. So I'm glad you brought that up, Alaska Roberts. So a lot of people say it's illegal in my state. It could still be on your exam. Something being illegal does not mean they're not going to ask about it. For example, blind ads are illegal. They may ask you about that. Commingling's illegal. They'll ask about that. Conversions illegal. They'll ask about that. Panic selling's illegal. Steering's illegal. Redlining's illegal. You guys get the idea. So being legal or illegal does not dictate whether you need to know it or not. All right. Okay, moving right along. Broker A took an open listing, then made an oral agreement with broker B to share the commission on the property. Broker B procured an offer resulting in the sale of the property. If broker A refuses to share his commission on the sale, then A, broker B would stand a good chance of winning a court suit against broker A for his share of the commission. B, broker B could sue the seller for his share of the commission. C, he need not share the commission for the statute of frauds. Or D, he need not share the commission because it was an open listing. I'll read the question again. Broker A took an open listing, then made an oral agreement with broker B to share the commission on the property. Broker B procured an offer resulting in the sale of the property. If broker A refused to share his commission on the sale, then the answer would be A. Broker B would stand a good chance of winning a court suit against broker A for his share of the commission. Move right along. Adrienne, how am I doing with my connection? You sound good? Everything's good? Adrienne's my co-pilot. He is my goose if I am Maverick. Top Gun reference for all you children of the 80s. Okay, the duration of a listing agreement is A, 3 months, B, 90 days, C, whatever is negotiated between the broker and the seller, and D, whatever is negotiated between the agent and the seller. Arthur says, who am I then? Arthur, you're that guy in the tower who has the coffee when it spills, when Maverick flies super fast past the tower and he goes, oh, Maverick! That'd be you. Adrienne and I are in the plane. What do you think, Adrienne? That works? Okay, here we go. And the answer here is C, whatever is negotiated between the broker and seller. Okay, speaking of Adrienne and Arthur's on the line, we are public today, so we have a lot of new people here. We want to share certain things you guys should look at. One is our Facebook group. If one of you guys would not mind sharing a link to our Facebook group, it's very popular, very helpful to a lot of people. If you guys don't understand a concept, it's great if you post it there. So therefore, you will get a lot of different vantage points on explanations of that concept. So if you guys would not mind posting a link to that. And Arthur, if I'm forgetting to mention anything you want to mention to the group, just post it in the chat and I'll read it out loud. Because we want to let everybody know. For those of you guys who are not members, these webinars are 5 days a week, and usually they are much smaller because they're only for the members. These public ones get a little more crowded because there's a lot of people on it. All right, moving right along. So Aaron says, what is the difference between undue influence and duress? They're the same thing. Aaron, same thing. Okay, and if you guys have any questions, today's a good day to ask, especially about the technical side, because Arthur is the mastermind behind designing PrepAgent. So if there's any little tips or feedback you want us to know, it's a great day to mention it. And we always love that feedback because we make this for you. So we want to cater to your guys' needs. Okay, which of the following statements about options is false? A lease option is a unilateral contract. B, the optionee does not have any rights in the land. C, consideration must be given by the optionee to the optionor. Or D, the option binds the optionee to the performance. And the question once again, which of the following statements about options is false? Okay, and the answer is D, the option binds the optionee to the performance. Jamila's taking her test today. She is focused because I believe she said she is an athlete in a previous webinar. You didn't mention what type of athlete you are, but I'm sure you're focused in whatever sport it is you do. Okay, so an option, by definition, the word option means you're not binded. Okay, it means you have the option to do something. You do not have to do it. That makes it a unilateral contract. So the one receiving the option is not binded to do something. That would be the optionee. The optionor may be binded to do something because remember, it is a unilateral contract, so one person is making a promise. Okay, sorry, my dogs interrupted us. How rude. An option, A, keeps an offer open for a specified period of time. B, requires the optionee to complete the purchase. C, resulting in a commission to the broker of the optionee does not exercise the option. Or D, gives the buyer a lien on the property. Okay, and the question is an option. All right, and the answer is A, keeps an offer open for a specified period of time. I saw some of you guys want an example, so let's do that. Do you guys know what a lease option is? What's a lease option? Who's ever heard of that? A lease option. What is a lease option? So a lease option is a lease when you have the option to purchase it at the termination of the agreement. What you do is you can either pay money up front or pay more money during the term of the lease. So you could just give them a big lump of money up front or maybe pay a higher rent. It's whatever's agreed upon. I mean, it could be that cookie we mentioned before. All right. So what happens when you do that, you're paying for the right to purchase the property at the end of the lease. It is your option. You've received that option. Now, because you paid for that, the owner of the property cannot sell it to anybody else, making them the optionor. They are binded which is why this is a unilateral contract. Everybody got that? A unilateral contract. Okay. I said something's a scam. I don't think I said something's a scam. Alicia, do you ever do state-specific webinars? Generally not. We try and do these webinars to go over concepts that help everybody. And Boss Heavy, that is definitely a lease to own. Boss Heavy, that's a great name. Either like you're a hip-hop artist or a professional wrestler. Great name. We got some great names in this chat. Okay, so you have that lease option. Moving on to the next question. Vicky says, hey, Joe, do you see my full name? Unless your full name is, then no. All right, and Jay Buckingham, can you get out of it? It depends on the contract and lawyers. That's more practice stuff. After you pass, you'll get into that. So I'm not really familiar with that. I just know what we need to know for the exam. Okay, if a person obtains a contract through duress, that contract is A, valid, B, voidable, C, unenforceable, D, void. What do you guys think? And the answer is B. And I'll read it again. If a person obtains a contract through duress, that is B, voidable. B, voidable. So when you have a contract, you have valid, void, and voidable. Who knows what the difference is? Valid, void, and voidable. What is a valid contract? Who knows what a valid contract is? Anybody? What is a valid contract? What do you guys think? So a valid contract has all four essentials, which are, write those four essentials again for me, please. So a valid contract has all four essentials, and those four essentials are mutual consent, lawful object, consideration, and capable parties. Okay, so a valid contract is all four essentials. What is a void contract? What is a void contract? Who knows what is a void contract? Anybody? So a void contract is a contract that's lacking one of those four essentials. Pretty simple. The tricky one is the voidable. What is a voidable contract? So valid and void are pretty obvious. Voidable is a little more tricky. So what is voidable? So a voidable contract has those four essential elements, but for one reason or another, you have the option to rescind. What would give you that option? For example, if you are put under duress, if you are threatened to do something, then it is voidable. Okay? Or for example, if you sign to buy a blue house and you show up and the house is red, you have the option to go through with it because you may say, you know, I wanted blue, but red's fine. I'm okay with red. I like that too. Or you could say, nope, I wanted blue. It's not blue. I'm out of here. Okay, that would be voidable. Even more tricky is that word unenforceable. What is an unenforceable contract? So an unenforceable contract is a contract that has all four essentials, like a valid contract, but it cannot be enforced in the court of law. Does everybody got that? It cannot be enforced in the court of law. That is different than voidable. Voidable is the option to go through with it and have it be enforced in the court of law and not. unenforceable, it cannot be enforced in the court of law. When would that happen? Not all contracts, but some contracts need to be in writing. If it is one of those contracts that need to be in writing, but it's not in writing, then it would be considered unenforceable. Everybody got that? Then it would be unenforceable. That's an example. When something needs to be in writing, certain statutes come up. I saw Maurice Davis and Victor Castillo wrote Statute of Frauds. That's excellent. Good job. Statute of Frauds dictates what needs to be in writing and what doesn't. And what is the statute that dictates if something needs to be done within a certain time frame? What statute is that? What do you guys think? What statute dictates if it needs to be done within a certain time frame? That would be statute of limitations. Good job, everybody. By the way, before I forget, I want you guys all to follow the other website I'm working on building along with Adrienne and Arthur. That is agentschool.com. Adrienne, if you would not mind putting that link. There's also an Instagram for that, and that's Real Estate Agent School. You guys could check out. And the reason we're putting that together, because our goal is not only for you guys to pass the exam, but it's also for you guys to be successful real estate agents. So we're going to put tips and advice on things you could do to grow your real estate career. Many of those tips you could do before you pass. So I'd recommend you guys check that out. And that's agentschool.com. Obviously, we're focusing a lot on online strategies. If you believe that it's a good idea to try and do business and get business online, then you definitely want to check it out. Because obviously, as you guys are here today, our expertise in marketing is a lot to do with social media and online advertising. So we want to share that knowledge with you guys so you guys could utilize that in your real estate career. Okay, moving along. The law that requires real estate contracts to be in writing to be enforceable is the A, law of descent and distribution, B, parole evidence rule, C, statute of frauds, D, statute of limitations. I will read that question again. The law that requires real estate contracts to be in writing to be enforceable is the, and the answer is C, statute of frauds. Okay, moving right along. Ooh, a long one, so much reading. How many guys, when you see a long question, you immediately go, ugh, I just became so tired, I want to take a nap now. All right. A property owner lists his property for sale with a broker. During the negotiations, the owner told the broker that the owner wanted $138,000 for the property. And anything above that amount, the broker could keep as his commission. This listing with this type of provision is called A, open listing, B, net listing, C, non-exclusive listing, or D, gross listing. And I'll read it again. A property owner lists his property for sale with a broker. During the negotiations, the owner told the broker that the owner wanted $138,000 for the property. And anything above the amount the broker could keep as his commission. This listing provision would be known as, the answer is B, net listing. And you guys see in the explanation, the first thing we write, net listing agreements are illegal in many states and frowned upon in others. And then it continues to talk about what it is. Okay, but we still need to know what it is. By the way, going back to that fall asleep thing, if you guys have trouble sleeping at night, or you can't, get shut-eye on a plane, open up your real estate exam book and you'll be out in no time. Nothing will put you to sleep faster than real estate exam law. You guys agree? The reality is that not everybody has ADD, attention deficit disorder. But when you study this real estate exam content, you'll have ADD pretty quick. This stuff is pretty boring, all right? So if you don't have ADD, you do now. So what does that mean? Arthur, Adrienne, and I, we make our system, all right, to cater to that fact that this stuff is boring. We try and do short video clips. We try and do as many things to accommodate you as possible. Flashcards, vocab worksheets, Instagram posts. Arthur sends out a daily email. So if you believe you're in that group where you're like, I don't have ADD, but I do now, then we really try and cater this to you. I know that was me. When we started putting this together, I thought about my experience studying, and I realized how boring and dry this material could be. So a big focus we put on is try and make things into short, bite-sized content, just like how Arthur wrote there, bite-sized content, and we try and make this as palatable as possible. So if that's you, then join us on our mission. If you guys could just sit down here and read a book and just memorize everything, then good luck with that. But for the rest of us, we're here with you, and we're here for you. Undue influence or duress applied to one party to a contract makes the contract A, void, B, unenforceable, C, voidable, or D, invalid. I'll read that again. Undue influence or duress applied to one party to a contract makes the contract, okay, and the answer is voidable. We went over that before, voidable. Oscar is a tenant and agrees to perform certain repairs for Joe, who is the owner. Despite repeated promises, Oscar fails to perform the repairs. Joe then writes up a contract and compels Oscar to sign it by threatening to evict him if he does not. Such a contract would be A, enforceable, B, void, C, illegal, or D, voidable. I'll read that again. Oscar is a tenant and agrees to perform certain repairs for Joe, who is the owner. Despite repeated promises, Oscar fails to perform the repairs. Joe then writes up a contract and compels Oscar to sign it by threatening to evict him if he does not. Such a contract would be, the answer is, voidable. Remember that threat. The moment you hear that word threat, the rest of the question could read blah, 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 blah. Who cares why you're reading it? Because the moment you hear the word threat, the answer is voidable. You got to know those key words, guys. You got to know those trigger words. And for voidable, that trigger word is threat. All right, guys, that's it for today. Arthur, Adrienne, if there's a link you want to share with everybody, now's the time to do it. Or if there's something you want me to announce to everybody, let's do it now. Otherwise, that's all. I will be back tomorrow with the with our premium members. Yeah, we're done. It's been 40 minutes, guys. It's a long time. It's a lot of talking for me. All right. So thanks, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. This is Joe from PrepAgent along with Arthur and Adrienne. If you guys need anything, I recommend you message us through the website. Messaging us through our social media outlets could sometimes be a little tricky for us to get back to. So the best way to contact us is to message us through the website. Ooh, Arthur had a question. How many of you are not members? That went too fast, Arthur. How many of you are not members, and what is your hesitation signing up? We want to make it accessible for everyone. That is Arthur's question. What is your hesitation? You can write it in the chat or send us a message answering that question, and we will try and address it as soon as possible. All right, thanks, guys. Have a great day.